Hey guys, welcome back to another Bustin experience, and I have my beautiful, lovely roommate. So we're gonna talk about some. This is my wife. All right, she prefers that term, right? So this is her first time. This is your first time, right?
Yes.
Are you excited?
Yep.
Okay. So we're gonna talk about finances, and we're gonna talk about maybe some things that people struggle with, or maybe some good ideas, or some rules to just kind of follow, our basic ideas. And so we're just gonna have a conversation. So why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so today I wanted to just have an opportunity to talk about not only finances, but how that affects our children, and how that continues on through generations. One thing I wanted to really talk about was my experience growing up as a kid with a single mom. My dad was also in the picture, but still a single mom, and working through a lot of this on her own and financially, and how she taught my sister and I to deal with our own finances growing up, and how that's impacted us still today.
So what do you think are some strategies that she had, or that she did, that you noticed as a kid that really, I guess, positively impacted you as an adult?
Yeah, she was very frugal. I thought we were poor. Well, we weren't rich, but we weren't poor, because every time I asked for something new or a toy or something along those lines, it was always a no, because we don't have money.
I will say though, if you live in America, you are in the top like 2%, 1% of
Yes.
richest people. I don't even care if you're on the streets. You're eating better than most people in the world. So
That is true. But for some reason, I thought we were poor, because every time I asked for something, it was always a no. And then as I became a teenager and I was of working age, my mom told me, get a job. And I got my first job, and I learned the value of earning that dollar. And I also found out my mom was just frugal. She didn't want to spend her money, but it was hard to earn money, and she knew she knew where to spend her money on.
well, I think that because a lot of people get trapped into the idea that you have quote unquote extra money, and I mean really you can use that money, to get out of debt faster. You can use that money to maybe develop an asset that will actually develop you more money, because people just tend to let whatever extra money that they have, and use that in quotes for people that can't see, they just spend it on useless stuff that's not going to give them any benefit past like a day or two.
Yep.
So,
That's true.
what are some other pointers do you have for people you think that would be good?
Well, some things that I've learned just through life, I didn't necessarily learn this through my mom, but she was still doing them, was have a savings account, come up with some stable passing income, because she eventually was purchasing homes or apartments and then renting those out, and that was her passive income. So seeing that and learning from that, like it's good to have a job, it's good to work hard, but we also want to have some of that passive income coming in, because you never know, you could lose your job tomorrow.
Well, and that's what you said was key, is passive income, because if you don't develop some type of passive income, you're going to work till the day you die. And no matter how much you love your job, you love your job, right?
I do love my
Do
job.
you want to work when you're 90 in the same job?
No.
100? Right? Exactly. Like at some point, I don't care how much you love your job, you want to be able to at least not to have to go to work. You want to have that choice. And so what would you say is the greatest asset you have?
Greatest asset I have, probably my house.
Your house? I would actually have to disagree with you on that one, because a lot of people would actually say the house, but let me ask you this: does your house provide you money now?
Not yet.
Not yet. You can eventually. But I'll say it this way: are you spending money on your house, or is it giving you money right now?
I'm putting money into it.
Exactly, and eventually you can sell that for a capital gain, but at this point in time, it's not providing you any money. Right now, if you had a chain of houses and you were renting them out, that's a different story. That would be considered an asset. But a house that you live in, it's taking your money. And every time you have to fix things, or you have to, put more money into it to actually, make it more valuable, you're not going to see a return until you sell. And even when you do sell, you may or may not break even or actually get more money, because I know
Yeah.
some people, depending on the market and all that stuff, like you may not get your money back. And so I think people need to understand the difference between an asset and a liability. A car is a liability. It costs you money. A house that you live in is a liability. And like you said, you actually want to develop that passive income. So, and you said that your mom did it through real estate, right?
Yes.
Exactly. So did she flip houses or anything like that?
Not really. She just bought them, cleaned them up, made sure that the basic necessities were working. The roof didn't have leaks.
Mhm.
The AC worked.
Yeah.
The plumbing was fine. But no, she didn't flip them. She just cleaned them up. And actually thinking about it, because she's had homes probably for 15, 20 years. She's fixed some of them over the years, but never really flipped them.
Yeah. Well, like you said, though, it's the passive income, and the only ways that you can do that is either through real estate, you can do that through owning a business, and you can also do that through like investing.
Yeah.
And kind of back to your greatest asset, I would have to say is your work ethic, because no matter what you do, if you start that business or if you have that job or whatever, it's counting on you showing up, being there, working it, and being able to actually put those hours in, and that is your greatest asset, right? Because that is what's providing you your money, however you've built it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you've had to work at some point at least for that. Some people would probably be like, yeah, what if you grew up with a golden spoon in your mouth? Well, somebody had to work for it, right? Right. So, but what else you got? Any other strategies? Anything you can think of?
Yeah, I really is just come up with a plan too.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're married, you have to talk it out with your partner. I know, not to hurt on Brandon here.
Better be careful.
But like when we
Dangerous
first got
territory.
when we first got married.
Tread lightly. Good.
When we first got married, I already had this idea from my mom and also my dad of how I should use my money, how I should spend my money. So I had a good foundation there,
Mm-hmm.
but you did not.
No, I was very free-spirited, which is funny because I'm now the financial advisor in the family. So, I mean...
Okay.
But no, I'm saying, like, I have the training and all that now, and I have the licensing. But I'm going to be stepping out of that here soon anyways. But
that was hard because in the beginning, you just were like, I want to buy all this paintball stuff. I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
And spent hundreds of dollars, and I'm like, I'm trying to save this money so we can finally get our own apartment.
That was like 8 years ago. I just
It
want to point
was.
that out.
Well, we've been married for almost 10 years,
Yes.
so that was about 10 years ago. But you have to come with a financial plan, and you both have to try and be on the same page, because it took years for him to finally understand, oh, Stephanie's actually trying to save some money and do some stuff. No, I wasn't trying to do investments yet.
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to survive.
Well, I think everybody is usually in that mode, which honestly is a bad mode to be in, because if you ever just try to survive, all you're ever going to want to do is just survive. Because as soon as you get that extra money, you're just going to be like, oh, okay, I can breathe now. Let me go spoil myself.
Yeah.
When you should, which that actually brings us to probably the greatest thing, not only in finances but in every aspect of your life, is just discipline.
Yes.
Just being disciplined with your money. I mean, that can go into health, that can go into your relationships, that can go into anything. But you just gotta, when you want that thing, don't get it. Be smart. I mean, not that you can't spoil yourself, but at least put yourself in a position where you're not constantly reverting back to where you just were.
Yep.
And so, yeah, no, I think that's a great point. But sorry, what were you saying? Keep going.
Yeah. So we've made a lot of mistakes early on in our marriage because we didn't have that open communication about our finances. He just basically threw it on me because I kind of knew what I was talking about. I've learned a lot more since then.
Well, we've all learned.
Yeah. And come up with a plan. Like, if you need to come up with a financial plan, like, get together with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But get together with somebody because you can, or don't. Maybe just write down what all of your bills are, what your income is, and do that envelope system that's always talked about,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
hey, this is the envelope for groceries. I didn't do the envelope because I do everything through my debit card. But we have to keep in mind, like, I have a budget. I need to stick to that budget, because if I don't, well, now I've gone over my budget. I have to take it out from somewhere, hopefully not from rent or from my mortgage or from my electric bill. And so we need to have these checks and balances. And like you said, we don't want to just put our money in towards bills. We've earned that money too. We want to put it, maybe we want to go out to eat once in a while. Let's have that fund too. We need to have an emergency fund. So we need to consider, what is that plan? Whatever that plan is, stick to the plan.
Yeah.
Because that's when you start to fail. It's having that discipline to stick to the plan.
And I think because you mentioned credit cards. So I mean, when you talk about debt, like, all right, this is me. I categorize it in three types of debt. There's the good debt, there's the necessary debt, and then there's the bad debt. Literally, I'll probably do necessary first. Like, necessary would probably be a house. And the only reason is because most of the time, if you can at least get into a house, the payments are actually smaller than in like an apartment. You know, because I mean that apartment that we lived in, the first one, it's like, I think it's like $1,000 a month now, and we were paying 600 and something.
Yeah, 630, something like
and,
that.
And then we moved into our house, which now we're paying like what, 680, something like that. And but that rent at that other apartment, I just checked it the other day, it's like almost $1,000 for the same thing. So we're locked into an awesome rate. And people are just getting jacked up over there. And it's not just them, but it's all around Lakeland. And so that can be necessary, right? Because that's actually at least more affordable. You're not paying more money to stay in the same place, but you're at least locked in. And that would be necessary, in my opinion. Everything else I don't think is necessary. Cars, no. Go get yourself a $2,000-$3,000 car. If it can get you A to B and it's at least relatively reliable, just drive that thing till it dies.
Yep.
And just stash money away until you can get something better, and then just keep snowballing that until you can get an actually very dependable vehicle. You don't have to go $15,000, $20,000 in debt to be able to do that. Yep. And then good debt would be something to help you build an asset, right? So whether it would be a business or real estate. Now, of course, if you don't succeed, it can come back to bite you.
Yes.
But if you pull it off, then it can be very, very beneficial for you. And that would be good debt to me. But a lot of people I see, when they get credit cards, and all, oh, this is good debt. It's like, no, you're getting jacked with 25% ratings, or interest on top of whatever you're paying. And even the debt consolidation, guys, that just puts you in debt longer than you need to be. Yeah, it sounds like a good idea because all your debts get merged together for a lower payment. But they're just adding 10, 15, 20, 30 extra years on top of your already existing debt. Like, you'll never get out of debt, and I think the best life you could have would be a debt-free life that you could just pay for anything just straight up. And I think that's what anybody would want, right? So everybody brags about their credit score, but, unfortunately, you're not going to pay for anything with a credit score. You're not going to be financially free, I guess I should say, with a credit score. Because if you're just in debt your entire life, then you don't have, wealth built up. So. Yeah,
and one more thing about that is we've been doing that snowball effect. We've paid off one of our vehicles, we've paid off credit card, we've slowly but surely paid off our debts. And because of that, we have a little bit more wiggle room to help others if we can. We have a little bit more money that we can provide to charities that we really believe in. Like one charity that we donate to is Love Haiti, and we were able to sponsor 4 kids. And I love going there. Like, we're going there this summer, and we're going there this summer because of fundraising and because we're saving some of our own money to go to Haiti and get to see these kids and see where that money's going and how it's helping others in other countries. So it's not a bad thing. Having a plan is not a bad thing. Pursuing that plan, disciplining yourself to follow that plan, which can get you out of debt, which you can then use to do the things that you actually want, like go on a trip to another country. Those are some great things. Actually, we went to Haiti last year, and one lady, never. She was in her 60s, 70s. I forget.
Yeah,
sorry,
like
sorry,
that.
Christine. But she has never left the country. I don't think she's been on a plane, maybe, I don't remember, but has never left the country. And I'm like, I've been going outside the country since I was a little kid, being because my family's from another country, but like I've been going since I was 1-2 years old.
Yeah.
Blows my mind that that they haven't left the country.
Well, I mean, especially, which I mean, I don't know her situation personally, but like, I mean, that holds us back. Like, unfortunately, whether you love money or hate money, like, you need money to be able to get stuff done. And that's also, in my opinion, I think that also shows you how valuable you are to your community based on how much you get paid. People might hate rich people, but unfortunately, or fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to view it, is like they make the jobs. Like they are doing the biggest impacts in the community, and they make wise decisions. Because you can't be. Sure, you can luck out maybe once or twice. Depend if you're corrupted or whatever you want to say. But I mean, you got to make a lot of good decisions. To be able to impact so many people. Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't have that type of discipline.
Yeah.
And there was something you said. I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah. Do you know? This is kind of off topic, and this actually kind of rolls with it pretty well. But you know what the top 2 indicators are for you being in poverty or not? And it's not what you think it would be.
Environmental.
What do you mean by environmental?
Like the environment that you've.
Oh, like the situation you've grown up in?
Yeah.
Actually, no.
Okay.
The top two. This one makes sense to me. Is finishing high school, yep. Right? I don't think that was number 1. I think that was number 2. And then the number 1 was actually not getting divorced and not having a kid out of wedlock. On top of that, right? That if you have that, which I guess you could say that's 2 to 3, is if you do that, if you keep both of those in check, then you have a 97% chance of not being in poverty. Isn't that kind of crazy?
Not really.
No, not really. But I mean, but it's true. Like, I mean, a lot of people, because they have a kid to feed and they're a single parent, and maybe they have child support. I mean, it tears families apart, and unfortunately that takes discipline. And I mean, some people have had bad relationships and they probably should have gotten out of it. But I mean, again, it kind of just, I guess, keeps people down, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
But it's making good decisions. Honestly, it's not even. You could have a $200,000-$300,000 a year job, but if you're spending $400,000 a year, you're going down.
Yeah.
Like, people don't understand that concept. But what else? Did you have anything else?
Just one more thing to go back, circling back to how our finances impact our family and specifically our kids, because we have our own 3 kids, and we spend a lot of time. And I'm not patting myself on the back or anything. It's just what I've learned, what we have learned, and what we're trying to pass on to our children, is that like money is worth our hard work. So if my kid is working hard, she's going to earn something. If she's not working hard, she doesn't get anything. So teaching those concepts early, so that they understand in the future that, hey, I need to work hard so I can make this income. But not only that, if I'm in all this debt, sometimes this debt can pass on to your kids.
Agreed.
Depending
on the debt, yeah.
Depending on the debt. But not only that, we have life insurance. If both of us passed away today with no life insurance, our kids would have nothing.
Yeah.
We would have nothing to. Luckily, my family's in a situation where they could.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't have enough. They would have to pay out of their own pocket to bury us, and all of the other things that come with that. Our dogs. We have 2 dogs. We have other things that depend on us, and so our kids see that. And even after we've passed away, we want to pass something down to our kids, a legacy. Even if it's a little bit of income, we want to pass that on to our kids, because we don't want them to start off on the wrong foot. We really don't.
Yeah.
And we're doing them a disservice by not by not kind of setting up that foundation for them.
Yeah, and that's true. And I mean, since you've touched on it already, is life insurance. I already said that your greatest asset was your ability to work. And if that's cut short, like, I mean, I know these things aren't fun, and, you know, and people are like, oh, I can spend the extra, whatever it is, $40, $50, $60 a month elsewhere. I'm telling you guys, I've seen it happen time and time again, that when an unexpected death happens in the family, it destroys people.
Yep.
My brother passed away 2 years ago,
2
years ago in like 30 days or something like that. And my mom had to pay out of her own pocket like 20 grand.
Yep.
You know, and because he didn't have life insurance, and he was only 29 when he went into the coma, and then he died at 31. And so you never know. You know, you never know. You need to and go term. Whole life is garbage. They're gonna sell it to you as an investment insurance combo, but it's always five times the amount of what a term insurance policy is. So go term, seriously. You'll get a lot more bang for your buck. And then instead of getting the whole life policy, get an investment. You know, get a good growth stock mutual fund, especially if you're young, on the younger side, and you'll be able to, at least out of that, you could have multiple things, maybe something at your job, and you'll be able to actually retire, or at least have a good nest egg to do something with, or to pass down if you pass away, or, you know, something. So just really, and like she said, I would say get a coach, get somebody to help you through this stuff, because I know this stuff can be confusing.
Yes.
And it might be hard, and you don't know what to do, and because that's a big part of the battle as well. So get with somebody that knows this stuff. Get with somebody that can help you walk through this, because you won't be disappointed. And get somebody you definitely trust, right? Because some people are just very salesy. They want to just, you know, get you to buy something, and they don't really care, you know, with what you do after that. You know, so get somebody that you think cares about you, that's willing to help you, and to walk with you, because it can be a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
And I guess just to keep going that real quick and to end it there, which is going to sound very morbid, but get life insurance for your kids. Mm-hmm. Yes, to just in case, which God forbid that happen, but also once they become an adult, they can continue with that life insurance policy at really low cost. Even if like something medically has happened to them, they've had cancer or autoimmune disease, I don't know, which could bring that cost a little bit higher. They can go ahead, depending on which life insurance you get, they can go ahead and keep going into adulthood, and they don't have to worry about those things, which is amazing. So don't do a disservice. You want to get that, and it's really cheap. I think for all three of our kids, it's like $15 a month. And so you want to do that.
Actually, I don't even think it's that high, to be honest. No.
Okay, I don't know.
I think it might be 10 or something like that. But kind of to piggyback on what you just said is, you read, first and foremost, read your policies. If you have one, read your policy, because whatever's in the policy, that is what's going to happen, right? If you have a whole life, really read your policy. Hit me up. I'll read your policy to you. You know, you can take a bedtime nap, or, you know, go to sleep and I'll read it to you. Yeah, so read your policy, and like she said, for kids, so the cool thing about this too is I mean, I say cool because obviously when you deal with death, it's morbid all the way around, but the cool thing is if they convert that to an adult, well, at least with our policies, this is how our policies work, is if you convert that, so like let's say the kid got cancer or something that would make them uninsurable, but had a child policy, you can actually convert that child policy, so maybe it's 10, 15 grand, and you can convert it to 10 times what it's worth into an adult policy, even if they have something that would make it where they can't get life insurance. They could have, it would max at 125,000. So that means if somebody was uninsurable for whatever reason, but they had a child policy because the parent decided to get one on them, they can convert that to 125,000, and that'll be, you know, as permanent as they want it to be, right? Because if that goes, then they won't be able to have anything. But if they keep that, they'll have a very low costing life insurance that, you know, 125,000. I mean, you can't beat that. So I mean, yeah, they do a lot of good things. And again, I don't want to downplay this part either. Too, invest into something.
Yes.
Get an investment. You know, if you're doing it at your job, great. I would say have more than one basket. You know, have a few of those things going. and get somebody that knows how to invest. That can know the market, that knows how the good growth stocks and the conservative funds are and all that stuff, and you'll be able to get where you want to be, or at least you'll be a lot farther than it might not be perfect, because nobody can predict the market.
Yeah.
But you'll be better off than doing nothing. And that's actually the number one reason why people don't retire, is not because of fees, not because they were in a bad fund, it's because they just don't do it.
Yep.
That's the number one reason.
Get a 401k. If your job has a 401k, do it.
Yeah.
Especially if they match, like up to 3%, that's usually the case. They'll match up to 3%, 50% of what you put in. Do it. Because like I put a certain amount, my job puts a certain amount, and then because it's a 401k and basically an investment, it's also accumulating even more money that I'm putting in between me and the company. And so I'm saving that. I'm not touching that sucker until I am 65 years old or even earlier, when I'm ready to retire.
And I would also say that's another good thing too, is for most of you, don't touch that thing. Do not touch that thing. Now I want you guys to understand is, like, obviously especially when an advisor gives somebody an advice, it's not like a blanket thing where it just covers everybody, because everybody is different. Everybody has a different situation. So you gotta have somebody sit down with you, because it's not just a one size fits all thing. Now maybe for most people it might be very, very similar, right? Because most people, you can predict that they may have families, wives, husbands, and all that stuff, but you can't predict if somebody has a very bad medical thing. There's a lot of things you can't predict in there, right? So they make the plan according to kind of what you're dealing with. So just sit down with somebody, right? I know it sucks. It might take you a couple hours, 3-4 hours, maybe, to not only put everything in place, but to actually get a good plan going, and then stick to the plan. If like you went to the gym and they built you a diet list and they said, all right, this is the days you're going to work out, and you don't do it, well, don't expect to get to where you want to be, because you're not doing it, right? So some people think it's just a magic pill. They're just like, oh, okay, I got it, and then they don't stick to it. It's like, dude, stick to the plan. Come on. Discipline. Got to be disciplined. But no, that's a lot of good stuff, a lot of good advice.
And I keep adding one more thing. But there is one another thing I wanted to add was, I know a lot of people get a tax season. Typically they get a tax return, which if you are getting a tax return, you're probably putting too much into paying into your taxes, by the way. But if you do get a tax return, don't spend it on, hey, I think I'm just gonna get a big trampoline for my backyard for my kids. Not that that's a bad thing, but spend it on getting out of debt. Like, you have that $2,000 credit card and you're getting $3,000 back. Put that $2,000 into the credit card and pay that sucker off. Like, be done with it.
I would say this. I would say this is a good rule of thumb. If your family's always worried about the next check, just stop. Don't buy anything that you don't need. Just get ahead. Get a little bit ahead. You know what I'm saying? Like, get the 3 to 6 months of expenses in the bank, right? So in your savings. So if you lose your job, you at least fund yourself for 3 to 6 months, and get out of debt as fast as you can. And at that point, if you can at least get those two things in place, you can spoil yourself a little more, because then at that point you'll be investing and you'll be trying to actually build wealth. But get out of debt. Right, because a lot of you go into more debt, right? And when you go into more debt, that just keeps you there longer. So just stop. And you'll be surprised. A lot of people think that the ship is gonna sink, but it's not. If you just quit spending in certain ways, and that's why sit with somebody before you do any bankruptcy or anything like that. Sit with somebody, get a plan, because they're gonna plug in all your numbers, right? And they're going to be like, oh, well, you spend $500 a month eating out. Might want to not do that anymore, right? And I mean, and some of you know it's worse, right? Or those people that go get $10 coffees every day.
Oh yeah,
that adds
Starbucks.
up, right? So again, it's going to take discipline, right? But sit down, get it done. Your future self will thank you, I promise.
Yeah.
But be disciplined, stick with the plan, and get out of debt, invest, get life insurance. I would even say get disability insurance too, as well. That might not be a bad idea, especially for some of you that are like construction or whatever. Because if you're not dead but you can't walk, well, kind of got a problem there.
Yeah.
So these are just all things to think about. I know it's not sexy conversations, but they're needed conversations. Nobody likes to think about death. Well, newsflash, you're gonna die. All right. Just be real, right? It doesn't have to be fun, but just be real. Be real with yourself. Be real about your spending habits, and just get it done.
Yeah, and to kind of roll that back with family, one day, which I hope is not for many years. So, Mom, if you're listening to this, I hope for many years.
She's not listening to this. Don't worry.
That one day she's going to pass away, and all the wealth that she's accumulated through the real estate that she's earned, that she has worked for, will pass on to my sister and I. And it'll benefit the both of us. So her hard work will continue to be passed on to my sister and I. And then one day, because we're going to start accumulating real estate too, hopefully, crossing fingers. But we want that to pass on to our children. We want them to be successful, and we want them to have that good foundation, so that if they need that passive income because something came along and they weren't prepared for it, they're somewhat prepared because we have helped them prepare.
Yeah, I mean, they say that the parent's finish line is the kid's starting line. So if you're actually farther back than when you started, unfortunately, that's where your kids are going to start too, right? Because whatever knowledge and experiences that you've had that you're willing to pass on, well, your kids are going to accumulate that, and that includes your spending habits, that includes your line of thinking, your beliefs, all that stuff. Of course, kids can undo it, and they can learn to be better, but it's just setting them up with a disadvantage. So I would say, please do yourself a favor, get disciplined, and get the stuff done, because your kids, even the community, is counting on you.
Yeah.
Because the more you free yourself up, and the more you're able to actually give, well, that's people that you're helping, you know.
Yeah.
And not only that, not that you should do it for this reason, but that, you know, people respect that, and people will love you more, and they will respect you more, and you'll find that your social life is more improved because of your ability to just love on people, and to, you know, but that also shows character if you have good character. Because if you're just rich and you're an a-hole, well, you're just going to be a rich a-hole, you know. So I mean, yeah, you got to have a good character too. I mean, that all goes hand in hand with it too, at least in my opinion. But anything else that you wanted to say?
Yeah.
We can start wrapping it up.
Yeah.
So, but I hope this helps somebody. I hope you guys can. If you guys need anything, please, I'm here. Like I said, I'm in the financial services right now, and I have my life insurance and my investment license. I probably won't be maintaining my investment license very long, so if you need help, I will definitely help you. Feel free to reach out, or you can make a comment on the YouTube channel. And with that said, also like and subscribe to the video, and subscribe to the channel. Well, I guess it's subscribe to the channel, not the video. But thank you guys. We love you. And say goodbye to my wife. You'll never see her again. Ever. I'm just kidding.
That's not true.
Love you guys. See ya. Bye.
Bye.